You ever love someone so much it starts killing you? Not in some poetic fairy tale way, I mean the real type of killing. The slow kind. The one where your soul bleeds while your face still smiles. Yeah, that kind of love. Toxic, suffocating, addictive love. The kind where you start losing yourself in the name of fixing them. You wake up and realize you ain't slept in months, not really. You dream of them, breathe for them, break for them. You bend and fold like a paper crane, hoping they'll finally notice the damn shape you made. But they never look, they never see it, they never cared. And the saddest part, you knew that deep down, your gut screamed it. But you ignored it because the pain of walking away felt heavier than the pain of staying. That's what a toxic relationship does. It poisons your reality and tells you it's love. It hands you chaos and dresses it up like passion. And it breaks you so quietly, you clap for the one doing the breaking. Ain't that insane? I know you gave everything. Time, heart, respect, loyalty. Even the little pieces of yourself that nobody else got to see, you handed them your demons in a glass box and said, please don't drop this. And what did they do? They shattered it on purpose. Then blamed you for the mess. They made you feel crazy for asking for consistency, too much for wanting effort, needy for needing love. And the whole time you were just hoping they'd treat you like a human being, not some background noise. But let me tell you something. That silence you got back, that wasn't peace, that was punishment. They knew what they were doing. Every cold shoulder, every delayed reply, every moment they made you doubt your worth, it was calculated, not because you weren't enough, but because they knew you were too much for them to handle, and they couldn't stand the reflection of their own emptiness when they looked at you. You stayed, didn't you? Even when it burned. Even when your friends said, wake up. Even when your gut twisted every time they spoke sweet words that never matched their actions. You stayed because you believed in potential. That sick little fantasy we all fall for, thinking love can heal people who ain't ready to be healed. You gave them a heart full of gold, and they traded it for attention from strangers. Ain't that something? And you kept forgiving. You kept lowering your standards just to keep them around. You taught them that you'd never walk. So they stopped trying. They got comfortable taking without giving. Comfortable knowing you'd always be there, even when they weren't. That's the twisted power a toxic person feeds on. Your fear of abandonment. They smell it like blood in the water. And they use it to keep you stuck in place, pacified by broken promises and fake apologies. And now look at you. Hollow, tired, numb, but still breathing, still standing. That's the thing, isn't it? Toxic love doesn't kill you fast. It kills you slowly. It makes you forget your own name, your worth, your dreams. It makes you shrink in rooms you used to own. You walk like a ghost in your own life, all because you loved someone who didn't even love themselves. And that ain't your failure. That's not a flaw in you. That's a flaw in the system you were trapped in. A system where you had to beg for crumbs and call it a feast, where you had to bleed to prove your loyalty, where you had to beg to be chosen by someone who couldn't even choose themselves in a mirror. And now you're sitting here asking, was it me? Nah, it was never you. It was them. Their chaos, their cowardice, their inability to face the reflection of someone who truly cared. You scared them. Your love scared them. 'Cause it was too real for someone used to games. And the sickest part? You still defend them. After all the lies, the disrespect, the emotional whiplash, you still sit there and say, they're just going through something. As if that excuses them gutting you like a fish every time you try to love them the right way. You still make excuses for the way they neglected you, still justify the days they went missing, the nights they ignored you, the moments they made you feel like a burden for needing anything at all. You protect their name in rooms where people are begging you to finally call them out. That's how deep they got into your head. They taught you how to hurt yourself for the sake of protecting them. They made you believe that being loyal meant being silent about your own pain. But I'm telling you now, loyalty without respect is slavery. And you were a prisoner in your own heart. You put the key in their hand and begged them not to lock the door, and what did they do? They slammed it shut, threw away the key, and told you to be grateful they didn't burn the whole place down. You ever wonder why it hurts so much to leave, even when you knew it was killing you to stay? 'Cause toxic love feeds off addiction, not connection. You got addicted to the cycles, the highs and the lows, the I love you followed by a week of silence, the butterflies that came right before the gut punch. You waited for them to change, but they just changed tactics. They became experts at emotional manipulation, and you became a master of surviving it. You learned to read tone in text messages like they were sacred scripture. You memorized their moods better than your own. You tracked their attention like it was oxygen. And somewhere along the way, you stopped living your life and started living theirs. That's the trick. Toxic people don't want love, they want control. They don't want a partner, they want a puppet. And the strings they use? Guilt, insecurity, nostalgia. That fake remember how good we used to be line they throw at you when they feel you pulling away. But let's be real. It was only good when you didn't ask for anything back. And even now, after all of it, a piece of you still wants to go back. Don't lie, I know it. You want to hear their voice, see their name pop up, get that one text that says, I miss you. You crave closure from the same hand that opened your wounds. But let me tell you something cruel, something raw. They don't miss you. They miss the control. They miss knowing you'd answer at 3 a.m. They miss knowing they could break you with a sentence and build you back with a lie. They miss the ego boost of being needed by someone they were never willing to need back. That's not love. That's ego. That's manipulation wrapped in nostalgia. And you were the only real thing in that whole illusion. You loved real. You stayed real. And that's why it burned so much. Because fake people will never treat real love the way it deserves. They'll never understand it. They'll only exploit it. You see, you were a storm, a force, and they were a coward hiding in comfort zones, scared of anything that felt like depth. You offered them healing, and they chose distraction. You gave them honesty, and they chose games. You gave them loyalty, and they chose whoever fed their ego better that week. You gave them everything, and they told you it wasn't enough. But that's the poison. They take and take until there's nothing left of you, then blame you for being empty. And the wild part, you still thought it was your job to refill yourself, just so they could drink you dry again. You became your own refuel station for the person who kept crashing into your peace on purpose. And the world applauds you for it. They say, you're strong. But strength isn't how much pain you can swallow. It's how much truth you can face. And the truth is, they didn't deserve you, not even close. You ever think about all the nights you stayed up crying, and they were out there acting like nothing happened? Like you weren't breaking in silence while they were laughing with someone else? That's what rips you apart the most. It ain't just what they did, it's how damn easy it was for them, how easy it was to hurt you and sleep like a baby. How easy it was to make you feel unwanted and then turn around and post a fake smile for the world. You stayed loyal in silence. They stayed careless in public. You were protecting their name while they were tarnishing yours behind closed doors. And somehow, you still blamed yourself. You looked in the mirror and said, maybe if I was more this, less that, but you were already more than they ever deserved. And that's the twisted part. They knew it. Oh, they knew it. But instead of leveling up, they tried to drag you down. Instead of growing with you, they broke you down just to feel taller. See, when a toxic person meets someone pure, they don't know how to handle it. So they sabotage it. Not because you weren't good, but because you were too good for the mess they were hiding in. And you know what hurts them most? It wasn't the betrayal, not really. It was the realization that you meant every word you said, and they didn't. You planned forever. They planned convenience. You gave effort. They gave bare minimum. You stayed when things got hard. They left when it stopped being fun. You fought for the bond. They fought for control. And you know what's insane? If they came back today, some broken part of you would still want to give them another chance. That's what toxic love does. It builds a home inside your trauma. It makes you crave the pain you once begged to be freed from. It creates a loop, a sick, emotional loop that convinces you the pain is proof of love, but it ain't. Pain isn't love. Confusion isn't love. Begging to be chosen every damn day isn't love. That's war. That's survival mode. That's emotional starvation, and nobody deserves to starve like that. You kept forgiving, didn't you? Forgave them when they disappeared, forgave them when they flirted with others, forgave them when they blamed you for their coldness, and every time you forgave them, they learned something. That your love could be abused without consequence, that no matter how low they went, you'd still be there, holding the door open. But here's the truth they'll never admit. They never thought you'd actually leave. They saw the way you loved. They saw how deeply you cared. They saw how willing you were to stay and fight for them. So they took advantage of it. They thought your love made you weak. But now that you're gone, now that your silence is louder than all your begging ever was, they're starting to feel it. That emptiness, that echo, that regret. They may not say it, may not show it, but it's there, creeping in their chest at night when they see your name and realize they can't reach you anymore. That's when the tables start to turn. Not when you argue, not when you cry, but when you go silent. That's the part they never expect. And I get it. You're angry. Not just at them, but at yourself. Angry for staying so long. Angry for betraying your own standards. Angry for losing pieces of yourself just to hold on to someone who never deserved to be held. But don't hate yourself for how deeply you loved. Don't hate yourself for being real in a world that worships fake. Don't hate yourself for hoping they'd change. That hope, that love, that fire inside you, that's your power. That's the part of you they couldn't kill even if they tried. You survived. And you didn't just survive them. You survived yourself, your guilt, your shame, your attachment. That voice that kept saying, just one more chance. You silenced it. You walked away. And that walk, that was a funeral for every lie you swallowed, every moment you settled, every time you said, I'm fine, when you were breaking inside. That was the rebirth. That was the start of the version of you who don't chase, don't beg, and don't break for the same people who'd never bleed for you. You ever realize how they never really apologized? Not the way they should have? Not once did they look you in the eyes and say, I hurt you and I'm sorry. Nah. What they did was twist it, flip the script, make you feel guilty for reacting to the wounds they caused. You cried too much? You're dramatic. You asked for clarity? You're needy. You wanted effort? You're ungrateful. That's the game they played. They turned your basic emotional needs into burdens. They gaslit you into questioning your own reality. And over time, you started to believe them. You started to shrink yourself, to speak softer, to apologize for feeling too deeply. You edited your soul so they wouldn't feel uncomfortable around your love. You watered down your truth so it didn't drown their lies. And slowly, without even noticing, you stopped being you. You became a version of yourself that was more digestible, less intimidating, easier to neglect. And they loved that version. Not because they loved you, but because it made them feel superior, made them feel in control. control. But deep down, they always knew the truth. They were never on your level. That's why they needed to dim your light. Because standing next to you in your full power, that terrified them. You ever notice how they only showed up when they felt you pulling away? That wasn't love, that was fear of losing control. They didn't come back because they missed your heart. They came back because they missed having access to it. There's a difference. And you knew it. That's why every "I miss you" started to sound hollow. Every "let's talk" felt like a reset button on your progress. They didn't come back to fix anything. They came back to pause your healing. 'Cause as long as you were still wrapped up in them, still hoping, still waiting, you weren't moving on. You weren't growing past them. And that's all they wanted, to keep you emotionally stuck. You were never their future. You were just their emotional safety net, someone they could fall back on when their ego took a hit somewhere else. And you let them. You let them come and go like your heart was a hotel and they had a room reserved under maybe one day. But they never planned on staying. They just liked the comfort of knowing you'd still be there, even after the damage was done.
And now, you sit there with scars that ain't visible to the world, but they ache every time someone says their name. You've got memories that replay like nightmares. Places you can't go, songs you can't hear, dates on the calendar that still punch you in the gut. That's what a toxic relationship does. It doesn't just end. It echoes, it haunts. It leaves fingerprints on your soul. And people around you say, just move on, as if healing is a light switch, as if grief comes with a damn timer. But they don't know what it felt like. They don't know how long you held on, how many versions of yourself you destroyed just to make it work. How many nights you sat with your phone in your hand, heart racing, mind running, praying they'd call, just so you could feel alive again. That's the withdrawal, that's the addiction, and it ain't easy to break. But you will. Not all at once, but in pieces. You'll start to see them for who they are, not who you hoped they'd become. You'll stop blaming yourself for the way they treated you. You'll start speaking your truth even if your voice shakes. And one day, you'll look back and say, damn, I really made it out of that. And when that day comes, don't expect them to clap for you. Don't expect a congratulations or a you were right. People like that don't apologize. They don't self-reflect. They don't admit fault. Because if they did, they'd have to face the truth, that they lost the best thing that ever happened to them. And that truth, that's too heavy for a coward's conscience. So they'll pretend like they never cared, like you meant nothing. But that's just noise. Silence is where the truth lives. And in that silence, when their phone don't light up, when your name don't pop up, when they start wondering if someone else gets the love they threw away, that's when the regret kicks in. Quiet, slow, deep. They won't show it, but they'll feel it every damn day. And you'll be free. Not just from them, but from the version of yourself that needed them to feel whole.
You know what's wild? How long it takes to unlearn a lie you told yourself every day just to sleep at night. That lie, they'll change. You said it like a prayer, like maybe if you held on tighter, cried harder, proved yourself more, they'd finally wake up and see what they had. You gave them patience they didn't earn, gave them forgiveness they never even asked for. And every time they came back with those sugar-coated words, those soft lies wrapped in familiar tones, you folded, you cracked, 'cause the pain of starting over felt heavier than the pain of staying stuck. You feared loneliness more than disrespect. That's what toxic love does. It convinces you that pain is safer than peace. It trains your brain to believe that being chosen inconsistently is better than being alone. But let me say this straight. You were never afraid of being alone. You were afraid of being forgotten. You were afraid that if you walked away, they'd replace you overnight, post pictures, fake smiles, and act like you were just another chapter they closed without flinching. That's the fear they programmed in you, to keep you trapped in a place where your needs were ignored, your love was exploited, and your worth was measured by how much pain you could swallow with a straight face. But let me ask you something. How much longer were you gonna die for someone who wouldn't even bleed for you? How many more versions of yourself were you willing to destroy to keep someone else whole? You bled out emotionally while they walked around like nothing happened. You kept saying, it's just a phase. They're stressed, they're scared, they're healing. And maybe some of that was true, but guess what? Healing ain't an excuse to harm. Pain ain't a pass to abuse. You gave them grace. You gave them time. You gave them chances. And they took every one of those gifts and spat on them because they knew they could. You taught them you'd stay no matter what. You conditioned them to believe that your love had no limits, no consequences, no expiration date. And when someone learns that, they stop valuing you. Not because you're not valuable, but because they never had to pay the cost of losing you. You made it too easy, too comfortable. You turned your heart into a home for someone who was only ever visiting. You see, the problem wasn't that you loved too much. The problem was that you didn't demand to be loved properly in return. You made excuses for absence. You rationalized inconsistency. You gave applause for bare minimum. You normalized being an afterthought. And what did it teach them? That they could show up when they wanted, leave when they pleased, and you'd still be there. Arms wide open, heart on your sleeve. But you know what? One day, you didn't answer. One day, you didn't chase. One day, the phone rang and you didn't pick up. And that's when it started to hit them. The silence, the void, the absence of your presence. See, people like that don't value what they have. They value what they can't have. They don't feel the loss until the access is denied. And when that day comes, and it always comes, they'll scroll through old pictures, read old texts, and wonder how they managed to fumble someone who would have gone to war for them. But by then, it'll be too late. The damage will be permanent, and you'll be far gone. Not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually, mentally. You'll be a version of yourself that they'll never get access to again. So here's the hard truth. Stop looking for closure in the same place that broke you. Stop hoping for the apology that ain't coming. Stop checking if they still watch your stories, if they still ask about you, if they finally feel what you felt. None of that matters. What matters is that you finally chose you. You chose peace over chaos, self-worth over pity, silence over screaming, and that's strength. That's what real healing looks like. Not loud, not dramatic, just quiet decisions that say, I've had enough. And maybe your heart still aches sometimes. Maybe there are nights where their ghost sits beside you. That's okay. Healing ain't a straight line. But every time you choose not to go back, every time you resist the urge to check on them, every time you say, I deserve more, you win. Not over them, over the old version of you that believed pain was a love language. That's the real battle. And you, my friend, are finally winning it. And you know what's funny? The way they act like you were the crazy one. Like all that pain you carried, all that confusion, all those nights you questioned your own damn sanity. None of it ever happened. Like you made it all up in your head. That's how twisted they are. They'll break your ribs and then call you dramatic for flinching when they reach for you. They'll set fire to your peace and then ask why you're always so emotional. You were begging for honesty, and they called it pressure. You were asking for love, and they called it obsession. But in reality, you were just asking for what every human deserves: respect, consistency, presence. That's not clingy. That's not too much. That's called standards. But when someone's used to getting away with the bare minimum, even your boundaries feel like attacks. You set a line, and they call you difficult. You speak your truth, and suddenly you're the villain. That's the sick game they play. Paint you as unstable just to dodge accountability. And the worst part? You believed them. You internalized it. You thought maybe you were too intense, too sensitive, too complicated to love. But let me tell you something brutal and honest. It wasn't that you were too much. It was that they were never enough. And they knew that. Deep down, they always knew they couldn't match your depth. Couldn't stand next to your loyalty without feeling exposed. So instead of leveling up, they dragged you down. Made you question your voice. Made you quiet your instincts. They couldn't destroy your strength directly, so they chipped away at your confidence until you barely recognized yourself. That's the slow death of toxic love. It doesn't kill you all at once. It rots you in pieces. First your self-worth, then your clarity, then your peace, until one day you're sitting in a room full of your own confusion, wondering how someone you loved so much made you hate yourself just to stay in their life. That ain't love. That's emotional warfare. That's psychological sabotage. And if anyone tells you it's normal, walk away. Walk fast. 'Cause real love doesn't feel like self-destruction. Real love holds space for your heart even when it's heavy. Real love doesn't punish you for feeling too deeply, it honors it.
And now, after all of it, they're gonna walk around like they were the victim, like they survived you. Posting quotes about toxic people and acting like they didn't cause every scar you're still trying to heal from. But don't bite that bait. Don't react. Don't try to clear your name in rooms they're poisoning. Let them talk. Let them lie. Let them perform.
Because the truth, it doesn't need defending. It survives without your effort. And you're not here to beg for understanding. You're not here to plead your case. You're here to rebuild quietly, powerfully, alone if you have to. Let the storm rage. Let them mock you. Let them pretend. But don't break your silence to educate someone who chose to misunderstand you. Don't lose your peace trying to win their pity. You've already bled enough. Already given more than anyone with self-respect ever should. This is your moment to reclaim the pieces they scattered. To become the version of yourself you buried beneath their approval. And it won't happen in one night, but it will happen. One choice at a time, one breath at a time, one boundary at a time. So if you're still missing them tonight, it's okay. If your heart still aches, that's okay. Healing ain't about erasing the love. It's about facing the truth. It's about loving yourself enough to say, even though I cared, I refuse to suffer in the name of love. You're not weak for missing them, you're human, but you're stronger for not going back. That strength, that's what they'll regret the most. Not the loss of your body, not the end of your attention, but the fact that they'll never again have access to the soul that would have gone through fire just to keep them warm. That's the real consequence. And it don't need revenge. It don't need closure. Just distance and silence. The kind of silence that screams louder than any argument ever could. You had me, and you destroyed me. And now, you'll never get another chance. Now you sit here picking up what's left of yourself like shattered glass in a room you didn't even break, bleeding with every piece you try to hold on to, wondering how the hell someone you gave your world to ended up being the one who destroyed it. And the answer, it ain't complicated. People who are empty inside, they crave light. But they don't know how to hold it. They don't know how to protect it. So when they get close to someone who glows for real, not that fake surface level confidence, but that real, deep, soul-driven light, they panic. Because next to you, they felt small, transparent, unworthy. You showed up real. You showed up ready. You showed up with everything they prayed for, but they were still stuck in their own darkness, so they tried to pull you into it. Not because they hated you, because they hated themselves. And they couldn't stand the reflection you held up just by loving them right. That's the bitter irony of it. You weren't the problem. You were the mirror. But being a mirror, it ain't easy. Because some people ain't ready to see the truth about themselves. You loved them gently, but they flinched. You held space for them, but they ran. You tried to build something that could last, and they kept bringing demolition tools. And the whole time you thought it was you. You questioned every step, every word, every feeling. You studied their reactions like a damn map, trying to find the path back to when things were good. But the truth is, things were never real, not on their side. They liked the way you made them feel, safe, seen, admired, but they never actually wanted to become the person you saw in them. That required growth. That required effort. That required looking in the mirror and facing the damage. And let's be real, most people would rather break you than fix themselves.
So what do you do now, huh?
You stand up. Yeah, you're bruised. Yeah, you're tired. Yeah, you're carrying memories that feel like chains some nights, but you still got breath in your chest. You still got a fire that they couldn't kill. And now you use that. You take that pain, that betrayal, that confusion, and you turn it into focus. You stop explaining yourself, you stop chasing, you stop hoping they'll come back with the right words, because even if they did, they wouldn't mean them. They just missed the power, the control, the version of you that didn't know better. But that version, that one's dead now. You buried it the day you chose peace over chaos. You buried it the day you stopped begging for the bare minimum. And every step forward now, that's a funeral march for every lie they fed you. Every silent treatment, every I don't know what I want, every moment they made you feel like you were too hard to love. You weren't. They just didn't have the capacity to love anyone, not even themselves. And yeah, the world won't clap for your growth. It won't throw you a party for walking away from hell. But I will. I will stand right here in the ashes of that version of you and say it loud. You survived what was designed to break you. You survived emotional starvation. You survived psychological warfare. You survived loving someone who made you feel like a stranger in your own damn heart. And now you build. Slowly, quietly, but surely. And one day, someone's gonna look into your eyes and see everything they couldn't. And they'll wonder why you're so careful, why you don't open up easy, why you take your time. And you'll just smile because you'll know the last time you gave your heart away without thinking, it almost killed you. You know, it's tragic that somewhere deep down, some part of you still hopes they'll come back different. Still hopes they'll wake up, run to you with open arms, and finally say everything you needed to hear. I'm sorry. You didn't deserve that. I knew what I was doing. But let me rip that Band-Aid off now. That day ain't coming. Not because you didn't deserve the apology. Not because you didn't earn the respect, but because people like that don't come back with truth. They come back with hooks, with bait. They come back when life humbles them, not when love changes them. And when they do show up again, if they do, it won't be to fix things. It'll be to see if you're still weak for them, if you'll still drop everything at the sound of their voice. That's the test. And if you fail it, you'll get dragged all over again. This time deeper, 'cause second chances with the wrong person, that's not hope, that's relapse. And it hits harder, 'cause now you knew better. You can't even play dumb anymore. You knew the fire was hot, and you still stuck your hand back in, thinking maybe this time it'll be warm. But pain doesn't change, only you can. You think they think about you? Maybe. Maybe in pieces. Maybe when the silence gets too loud, or when the face of the person they replaced you with starts to blur. Maybe when they pass by the place you used to go, or hear that one song. But here's the catch. They won't reach out because they miss you. They'll reach out because they miss the power you gave them. The emotional leash, the ability to break you and watch you rebuild yourself overnight, just to make them comfortable again. But if you're smart, if you've grown, you won't answer. Not because you're petty, not because you want revenge, but because you've finally outgrown being anyone's emotional punching bag. You've finally realized that not everyone deserves access to you, no matter how much history is attached to their name. You learned that healing don't always come with a goodbye. Sometimes healing is just going silent. Sometimes it's walking away without a word, without closure, without a damn warning. And when they call that disrespect, just smile, because they never saw your kindness as respect when it was serving them. You want real peace? I mean the kind that don't depend on who's texting you or who's missing you? Then here it is. You have to bury the hope that they'll change. You have to grieve the version of them you created in your mind, because that version, it never existed. You fell in love with the potential, not the reality. You were loyal to the idea of who they could have been if they weren't so broken, so selfish, so emotionally immature. But potential doesn't hold you at night. It doesn't say sorry. It doesn't undo damage, and loving someone's potential is the fastest way to betray your reality. You deserve someone who shows up in the present, not someone who lives in your imagination. And yeah, I get it, you miss the good times, but don't forget, every toxic relationship comes with a highlight reel, the laughs, the late nights, the moments of affection. But those were flashes, glimpses, not the truth. The truth was in how they made you feel when you needed them. The truth was in how they made you question yourself just to keep the peace. The truth was in your tears, your doubts, your silence. And now, the truth is this: you stayed longer than you should have, but you're not staying anymore.